Welcome to the Over Responsible Mom podcast. I'm Jessica Perry, and this is where we talk about the real reasons so many capable, responsible moms feel overwhelmed, overstimulated, and constantly on edge. Not because you're broken, but because you're carrying more than your nervous system was designed to hold. Here, we talk about emotional capacity, why so many high-functioning moms are living overloaded, and how to stop surviving motherhood and start actually living your life again. If that sounds like the conversation you've been needing, you are in the right place. So today's episode, we're going to do a little something different. I am going to speak more about myself because I know that so many of you will be able to relate to my story and see a lot of yours in what I'm about to tell you. I didn't just awake one day and I was just like overloaded working mom. Like, it doesn't just happen overnight. It is years of building and building and building and instilling beliefs and experiences and other people's outside influence. For years, I felt like I was living the same day on repeat. It was Groundhog's Day. My mind would be racing the second I got up. Before my feet even hit the floor, I was already feeling behind. I was checking my phone immediately, reading emails, stressing about my to-do list for the day, thinking about problems from yesterday, worrying about my day ahead, let alone getting the kids to school on time. You know, making sure that they're fed, making sure that they're dressed, asking 10 times to put the shoes on before we get out the door. And it always felt like rushing and pushing. And then I would be late for work if she wasn't on time. Like, I always just felt behind. It was always that anxiety of feeling like you're running late or feeling like you're just behind. I can't explain it any other way. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And then by the time I got to work, I already felt irritated. And when you start your day irritated, that is not a good way to begin because you're never going to bounce back from that. It's the entire day. You're constantly trying to catch up, even if it's just mentally. Because how many times have you actually looked at your stuff and you're like, oh, I actually got a lot more done than I thought I did? Why do I feel like I still have so much more to do? It's that feeling of never doing enough. Like, no matter what you do, it's never good enough. And so where does that belief system come from? And here's another thing I want you to think about. And this is what hit me hard too. What are my kids thinking when they're being rushed to school, hurried in the morning? Forget if they spill something. I'm already like, man, why'd you do that? It's that like perfectionism, like don't make any mistakes, always stay a step ahead, like just this programming. You want things to be perfect. You want things to be your way. You want things to go smoothly. You know, if you were doing it all, none of that would have happened. So it's like that, where does that come from? So I grew up believing the harder you work, the more valuable you are. I grew up in a middle-class family. We always had money to live on. But if I wanted something designer, I had to go get a job for it. So at 14 years old, I got a job. I walked 2 miles to the work after school. I worked for 5 hours frying chicken. It was called Pudgy's Fried Chicken. Yes, it was. And my parents would pick me up. I would come home, do homework, and I loved having money. Because I grew up understanding the harder you work, the more money you make. The more money you make, the more things you have, and the more you can do in life. And I started seeing real quick, wow, I could really enjoy life if I have more money. I guess I'm just going to give my soul to the devil and just work as much as I possibly can. Like, I'm talking working 40 hours a week during the summer just so I can make all that extra money so I can go on trips when all of my friends were down the shore enjoying their high school careers. And so for me, growing up understanding that the harder you work, the more valuable you are, the more money you make, the more successful you're going to be. I kind of learned early to always be ready for impact. Like, when is the other shoe going to drop? Save money. Don't spend it. Spending it on that is dumb. And like kind of always just being directed by my parents or, people around me. It's not just your parents, because my mom will always say, it's always the mothers. But no, it could just be one sentence. And if it's not said in the right context or with the right tone, it could totally be taken the wrong way. And that's a lot of what we have done, is taken a lot of that programming to mean a certain thing. Things happen in life. It's how we interpret them that dictates how we live our life after that. So I grew up thinking money was not safe. I just need more of it. I can never run out of this. Like, I just was always afraid not to have money, even though I had thousands as a 16-year-old. I was going to France on a school trip, paid for it myself. I was just that person. Since I was 14, I've had a job. Let's just keep that in mind. My worth became tied to how productive I was. I've been in retail for 25 years. Before what it is that I do now, I was working 10 to 12-hour days. I was eating junk because you barely get a break. You barely get to eat before somebody else comes up to you and wants help. Retail is a different animal. You're either meant for it or you're not. And I always wanted to do more. So I went up the ladder quickly. And as management, you get paid a salary, but you work whenever you need to. If you work 60 hours a week, like that's what you need to work. That's what you need to work. So I learned real fast that, okay, I want to be successful. I want to like make a lot of money. I got to work as many hours as it takes. So I would stay late. I would come in early. I had to work weekends and holidays. I missed so much time with my family. I missed family events. I missed parties. Missed my own birthday sometimes. And it just became a way of life. Like, this is just how it is. This is just what I have to do because I want to be successful. And I think even when I was physically somewhere else, my brain was always at work. It never shut off. I was always checking emails, 10 o'clock at night, and replying to them, mind you. Not just checking them, replying to them. I had no boundaries. I had just become a slave to my job and called it normal. And a lot of the time I felt like nothing I ever did was good enough. They only care about what you do today. So even if you did really well yesterday, that doesn't matter anymore. So it was always the stay one step ahead. Don't make any mistakes. Don't get spoken to. There was something in me that just felt less than when those things would happen. So I would make sure I was always on guard. Now, in my life at home, it's not like I was screaming all the time. But even at work, at a certain point, at work, at home, I had gripping control so tight that I was constantly irritated. I wanted things done my way because, of course, that's the right way. I had a short fuse. Like, I will never forget the time that Quinn spilled milk one day and like I lost my shit and she started crying and I was like, what have I done? And you know, you go through that loop where you yell, you feel guilty, you beat yourself up, then you do it again. You know, even though you promise you're going to do it differently this time. I was just really rigid and controlled. And there's actually a difference. And my kids would interrupt me mid-thought and that would send me over the edge, right? Like, leave me alone. I'm doing work right now. I would be looking at my phone at home when they were trying to talk to me, like really just unhealthy behaviors because I was afraid. Why? To lose my job, to not have security, you know. And I feel like a lot of times working moms, especially, we have to work a lot harder because we're trying to prove something. We feel bad almost that we're parents. Like, I don't want them to say something because I had to leave early because I had to go pick Susie up from soccer or she wasn't feeling well or, you know, like, so we overcompensate because we feel bad living the life that we want. and it's the craziest thing. But what I recognized in myself and just in general, I was managing everything instead of leading my life. There's a really distinct difference between being a manager and being a leader. A manager has to have that control, has to make sure no mistakes are made, wants perfection, wants it done a certain way, is really irritated and uptight and rigid. And a leader, they model by example. They keep their calm and composure. They lead people to what they want done and train them how to do things and let them and empower them to do it in their own way. And that leads to more success. And if a mistake is made, we fix it. I teach you how to fix it. And we move on from that. But in my mind, for the longest time, especially at work, if a mistake is made, that reflects on me. I knew it. I told them not to do it that way. Or, yeah, I know. I constantly blaming other people for what you're doing to them. Constantly blaming other people for your mood, for your irritability, for your short fuse, for your amount of work that you have on your plate instead of setting boundaries. Now, here's what I will tell you. For years, I knew I should not be doing retail anymore. This is not what I really want to do. But it became this vicious cycle where every couple of months I would feel amazing and like grateful and like I love life. And then all of a sudden I would go into a season where I was like, this sucks. I hate my job. This is miserable. This can't be all there is to life. Like, there has to be more than this. What am I missing? How come and it's okay. You just weren't dealt those cards. That's just not your life. Those are not your circumstances. Other people were luckier. If you had what they had, then maybe you could do it. But now it's too late. You're already older. What are you going to do? Go back to school? You don't have the time for that. You don't have the money for that. You don't want to start over. Things flooding into my brain all of the time to try and rationalize me out of changing. Because what I knew was safe. Might not like it or be happy, but it was safe. You do the same thing over and over again, right? You're not going to screw it up because you're so used to doing it. So it's like, I'd rather stay safe and guarantee my success than do something outlandish and go after what I really want and have to start at the bottom or have to start all over. So March of 2020, when COVID shut my company down for a couple of months, I was forced to stop. So I'd known for years that I was supposed to do something different. I remember sitting in my back room one day going, there has to be more to life than this. This just can't be it. Why are there so many people that enjoy their lives? Like, I'm not enjoying mine. And I feel guilty saying that because I have a husband and a family. So if I'm not enjoying my life, then that speaks bad of them. Guess what? It does not. It does not. You have to be happy within yourself. And that takes work. And that takes you being introspective. So now picture this, right? My company was shut down. I was forced to stop. For the first time since I was 14, I didn't have a job. It wasn't my fault, but I felt, what am I gonna do? I've never not had money. This is not safe. I don't know what to do. This is unknown. I'm gonna freak out. Very next day, my friend had asked me to join her direct sales company. And I was like, hell no. I did that when I was 20 and I hated it. I also didn't have a good leader, but and I didn't know what I was doing. So there's that. But I decided to join her. I did not know what I was doing. I was like, let me jump in. Sure, investing $1,000 seems like a really smart move when I don't know where my income is coming from, but let's do it because I'm going to make it back. My daughter was 5 months old. My stepdaughter was now doing school online because of the shutdowns. And so I was caring for them during the day. We didn't have childcare. There was no school, there was no daycare, there was no aftercare. So I became the caretaker. So I became a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home work-from-home mom because I was doing my direct sales. I remember driving Quinn around in the car, listening to personal development podcasts, listening to Michelle Cunningham, listening to people who knew direct sales inside and out so I could get the inside scoop and learn how to do it. I mean, I'm really good in sales. I'm really good with people, building relationships. That's what I've done my whole life. And that's why I'm so good at sales. Not because I love sales. It's because I love helping people. I've seen people get engaged in front of me because I helped them pick out the perfect ring. I've been invited to baby showers. Just really sharing special moments in people's lives. Being able to have somebody that works for me come up to me and say, you know, you really saved my life. Like I've really been depressed lately and even suicidal at that. And just talking to you and having you here for me every day, like you don't push me, you just ask me what's wrong. And, you know, even despite all of the crazy, rigid control that I had going on. But I've been really good at what I do because I love people. I love helping people. And so I just became obsessed with working for myself, with having my own schedule. And I thought to myself, like, I would rather die than go back to living the way I lived. I can make my own schedule, hang out with my kids and take care of them all day, still make money. Like, this is unheard of. Like, who does that, right? And so it opened up this whole new world for me, this whole new way of thinking. And has it been easy? Absolutely not. But I decided to become a life coach. I decided to do all of these things to better myself. This was the time. I saw this as an opportunity to change my life, start over. You will never get this chance again. What are the odds that this happened? You were forced into making a change, and that's how you have to look at it. And I remember one day my job called me and they were like, oh, we're hiring everybody back. And I literally, it came out of my mouth. I was like, yeah, I can't. I can only work 1 day a week. I was like, I don't know why that came out of my mouth. But I had care for my kids. Like, we didn't have care for them yet. So it wasn't untrue. But when I spoke to my husband later that day, he was like, that's a little irresponsible. No. I'm like, we don't have childcare. And like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that to myself right now. This is my opportunity. I'm taking it. And it was the best decision I ever made. Became a life coach, spent thousands of dollars on coaching, found my way in terms of what I wanted to do with my life, but I still felt like something was missing. And here's what I want you to understand. You cannot bubble bath your way out of survival mode, okay? Like I said, I've spent thousands of dollars on coaching. I've gone to therapy before in my life. You can't look outside of yourself for validation. You have to do the inner work. And if your nervous system is overloaded, there is no amount of self-care that is going to help that pass. Mindset alone doesn't work, which is why I came up with the emotional capacity concept. I don't feel like you can't mindset your way out of a nervous system that's overloaded, right? So we have to work on the things physiologically, like going on physically within your body, and also the mindset piece of it. So once you get your physiological in line and you start peeling away the layers and kind of untangling the chaos that's going on and taking things off your plate, it's not about doing less, right? It's not about taking things off your plate permanently. It's about, what are you doing that you really don't need to do? And how are you feeling while you're doing it? If you're at a soccer game, let me tell you a story. My daughter, we're at gymnastics, and my parents were actually there that day, and my dad said to me, it's crazy. I looked around and every single parent was on their phone. And he said, the one girl was knocking on the window looking for her mom. And then her mom finally looked up and she waved to her. And then as soon as the girl turned around, she went back to looking at her phone. The next flip the girl did, she looked to see if her mom was watching, and her mom wasn't watching. And like, how disappointing is that? Just being excited to show off for your mom and show her how good you're doing and get that pat on the back and get the approval. Kids need to feel safe. They need to feel like you care, that you're supporting them, that they're in a safe place. And so I'm happy to report that I am the only mom that was not on her phone. But it's taken me a long time to get there, because I would have been checking emails. I would have been trying to see what I should do next. I would have been trying to see who left me messages, who wrote me emails, what I needed to do for work that wasn't done during the day. And I didn't. I would have even been playing a game, anything to get my mind off of things. But it's because I can't settle. Tell me if you feel like this, and I love to hear from you guys. So if you have something to say, please feel free to leave feedback here, or you can email me or find me online. I am at calm_mom_unfiltered because I am unfiltered. I'm not always calm. And that's a misconception that people think is like, I'm not always calm, and that's okay. It's not about not ever snapping. It's not about not having feelings. It's not about changing and uprooting your entire life. So tell me if you've ever felt this way. Your brain is just at max capacity. You cannot handle one more thing. Kid comes up and asks you for a snack, you flip out. Then you feel guilty. Then you're like, okay, I'll do better tomorrow. And you apologize to the kid. Then the next day, the same thing happens. There was a point where I came home from work and my daughter would say, I want to ask mommy to play with me, but I know she's going to tell me not until later, so I'm just not going to ask her. Broke my heart. Broke my heart. Then there was another time where she did spill something on the floor, and this is after I was already in my regulation phase, and she went, "Mommy, I'm so sorry." I was like, "What happened? Are you okay?" She said, "Oh, I just spilled milk, and I go, okay, we can clean it up, no big deal." And she was like she was so upset because she was expecting me to lose my shit. And that also broke my heart. We just don't realize how we are to other people around us that are bracing for impact because they don't want to set us off. They know that we're snappy. They know that we're overwhelmed and that we have so much on our plate. And again, this is not taking things off your plate. It is about setting boundaries, yes. But it is about being able to handle what's on your plate, delegate things out, and be able to focus on one thing at a time without making your brain go in two places at once, or without thinking you need to get everything done or else today was a wash. You need to stop guilting yourself too. And that's the thing is, I 2 years ago uprooted my life and moved to Florida because I wanted my daughter to be closer to my parents. I was tired of living in New Jersey because it was always cold and I had seasonal depression, not gonna lie about that. And I just felt like I needed a change. I needed to start over. I was just ready to go after what I wanted. Plus, I've always wanted to live in Florida. What is it that you want? It doesn't have to be uprooting your life. It could be as simple as I want to enjoy dinner without my phone going off. Okay? You can put the phone somewhere else and don't look at it. What's going to happen if you don't answer your boss right away? Are you not allowed to have free time? Are you not allowed to be your own person? I was just feeling so trapped in my life because my worth was tied to my productivity, and it was just a belief system that was instilled in me, and it transferred to everything else I did in life, and it made life miserable. I was always irritable, and I want to help other moms find their peace, find their excitement, find their joy. Now when I wake up, I'm excited. I'm like, ooh, a new day. And I do my mindset work first thing in the morning. I make my drink that helps me find mental clarity. Then I do my morning work, meditation maybe for 20 minutes. Maybe I'm reading a book for 20 minutes, like something that gives me time, and it gives me that time before my kids wake up to settle, before I get thrown into my day. And I take presence in everything. And if things don't go my way, okay, I know I did what I could do for that situation. I didn't achieve the results I wanted to. That's okay. I can do that next time. Or, okay, what's next? Not constantly beating myself up, not constantly living in that guilt cycle. And it starts with making the decision that you want different for your life. If you don't want your kids growing up feeling that intensity, feeling that burnout, feeling that unsafe overwhelm, then it's time to do something about it. And that's where I really just decided to change my life. You don't have to overhaul it, but you have to decide that you want to do something different. And it starts with that decision. And that's why I started doing this work, because I got tired of seeing other coaches talk about mindset work, meditation, books, journaling, bubble baths, just visualizing things. That stuff is great and it absolutely works. But we cannot negate the fact that all of that stuff, let me tell you this, feeling the way that you feel, if you tried to go meditate right now for 20 minutes, what do you think would happen? What's that email that I have to do? Okay, is my boss calling me? Do I need to check my phone? How many messages am I getting? Your brain's like this the second you're meditating, right? You need to clear some of that out. You need to find clarity before you can start doing that work, because you can do that work, but as soon as you open your eyes and go about your day, those feelings are all going to come flooding back. You don't have the tools that you need to be able to pull it back in when you feel yourself start spiraling, or when you feel those moments of ultimate anxiety or panic. Or when you're with your kids and something happens that you normally would flip out about, And all of a sudden now you're handling it with calm and ease, and your kids can take a deep breath and they feel safe and supported and everybody's happy. You know, being that mom that made everybody feel on edge, being that boss that made everybody feel on edge did not feel good. And I just got used to it. I just said, you know what, this is just who I am. This is what makes me successful, and everybody else it's too bad for everybody else. And that is not the way I want to live. That's not the way I want to teach my daughters to live. And I want to be able to help other moms just feel alive again, feel good again, feel like themselves again, do things that they love doing, not feel like they have to sacrifice everything just because they're a mom or because they're working or because they just learned that they have to take the brunt of everything and just keep on going and suck it up and move on. No, not anymore. And that's why I built the emotional capacity movement. That is why I'm helping moms get out of the survival mode and start living in thrive mode. So if you are a mom listening to this and you're constantly on edge, snapping faster than you want, or feeling guilty afterwards, you're not crazy. You're overloaded. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another mom who needs to hear it. And if you're ready to stop living on edge and start building real emotional capacity, you can take the capacity audit linked here in the show notes. I'll see you in the next episode.